Good evening, it's 8 o'clock live from Johannesburg. I'm Sally Baudet. Your top stories tonight.
Suffice for me to say at this stage that the application has no merit. The application is dismissed.
Judge Mandela Makaula refuses to recuse himself. Now the defense plans to appeal. And we follow the money trail of the Jesus Dominion Church to the United Kingdom.
He may deny it, he can deny it as much as he wants, but as I'm saying, he has never owned up to anything.
Former MEC Ngolisi Dukwana goes to court to get evidence he says will prove the ANC Secretary-General pressured him to grant the Gupta favours. And Judge Nugent asks SARS Luther Labella how a lawyer got paid 120,000 rand to read a book. Putomayani. Judge Mandela Makaula has refused to recuse himself from the trial of Pastor Timothy Omotoso. The televangelist pastor stands accused of rape and human trafficking. His lawyer now plans to appeal today's decision by the judge not to step down. Timothy Omotoso reports.
Omotoso's lawyer, Peter Duberman, asked the judge to recuse himself, saying Mandela Makaula is prejudiced against his clients.
My perception is that in making the comments highlighted in bold above, 1. The Honourable Presiding Judge has already made up his mind and found that Ms. Zondi has come to court to testify not for herself, but as a crusader in a quest for justice.
But his efforts were unsuccessful.
Suffice for me to say at this stage that the application has no merit. The application is dismissed. I shall deal with my reasons when I deal with the judgment at a later stage. That's my order.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Women in the presidency and the supporters of Omotoso's accusers are rallying behind the victims.
We will stop at nothing to hold responsible government departments tasked with ensuring dignity to victims of crime. We would like to question the Department of Correctional Services about the preferential treatment that Mr. Omotoso is allegedly receiving in their facilities. We are also aware of the many cases of intimidation against women who have spoken up against Timothy Omotoso.
Outside court, we caught up with some of the members of Omotoso's Jesus Dominion International Church.
All I know that the justice, if they are needed here, they will be called to come here. They can't defer run away from the justice. Understand?
More witnesses are expected to take the stand soon. Meanwhile, Dubermans asked the judge for a postponement until Thursday so that a senior counsel can bring an application to appeal his ruling. Tim Tongana, Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape.
Well, we've also traced the headquarters of Pastor Timothy Omotoso's Jesus Dominion Church in the United Kingdom. Now, the church, we believe, received 970,000 rand in donations to this address this year. Our UK correspondent Natalie Powell is in London. Good evening to you, Natalie. I believe you've been down to Sussex to find the so-called headquarters. What did you discover?
We have been on the trail of the Jesus Dominion International Group in the UK, largely to get comments from them about what is taking place, about their association with the accused and whether that will continue, and also about whether they would react to potential plans to boycott the church, as we've seen in other places. What we have discovered, though, is that the only registered address for this charity is actually not where they are based. Instead, it is simply a postal address, an address of business, and instead we actually found their accountants there who, as third parties, were able to make contact on behalf of the NCA with the directors of this trust. But unfortunately, Sally, we were told that they did not wish to speak to us at this time. We then carried on the trail because, according to the Charities Commission, we were able to discover the the address of the place of worship. It wasn't technically an address, it was more of a place, and found very little there. However, saying that, of course, we know that it wasn't a Sunday and therefore unlikely that worshippers would be around. But so far discovering very little in that area, and still no comment, of course, from the organisation themselves.
Thank you very much. That's Natalie Powell in London. Well, former Free State Economic Development MEC Mxolisi Dukwana says Ace Magashule took him to the Gupta's Saxonwold home in 2011. Now, despite pressure to do so, Dukwana says he was put under severe pressure by Magashule and Tony Gupta to greenlight a multi-billion rand project to build a new city. Now, the ANC Secretary General and former Free State Premier says this is an absolute lie. Dukwana's allegations came to light after his application at the Bloemfontein High Court recently. He wants the right to seize evidence to prove he is not lying, and he wants to present that evidence at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. Our reporter Samkele Maseko spoke to him.
Mxolisi Dukwana says Tony Gupta offered to pay him 2 million rands a month on condition that he granted him one wish.
Look, we will give you 2 million for the duration of the project, and Comrade Ace is not going to be part of this project. We have already spoken to him about it. It's our project, you and I. That's how he put it. And then he then asked Ace, didn't we speak? And Ace agreed.
During the meeting, Dukwana says he was presented with a document that needed his signature.
They presented me with a letter, and the letter they requested me to sign, meaning it would have been a letter prepared by me appointing this particular company to be the turnkey project manager of a project that at the time was not existing.
Dukwana says he refused to sign the letter, thus saying no to the Gupta's request. But he admits it wasn't the first encounter with Tony Gupta. The pair had met previously at the Sahara Computers headquarters. Dukwana says that's where he learned from Magashule of his business dealings with the Gupta brothers, with his son as the front.
So he's a business partner with the Guptas. He may deny it, he can deny it as much as he wants, but as I'm saying, he has never owned up to anything.
Former Free State Premier Ace Magashule has strongly refuted allegations being made against him by Mxolisi Dukwana, saying he has another agenda against him. Magashule describes the allegations as malicious and baseless.
The Nugent Commission delivered some startling moments today. First, it seems SARS head of employment relations, Luther Lebello, has racked up 750,000 rand in private lawyers' fees preparing for his appearance today. But there's more. Judge Nugent wanted to know about the 120,000 rand paid to the same lawyer to read a book for Axe boss Tom Moyane. Heidi Jockas was at the commission.
Luther Lebello overlooked SARS internal legal services offered to staff members who were going to give evidence before the Nugent Commission. Instead, the Revenue Services Group Executive for Employment Relations sought private legal assistance. This came at a price tag of 759,000 rand. But Lebello says he's challenging the amount on the invoice from Mashiane Mudli and Monama, who helped him gather evidence for his submissions.
Probably a few days before I appear before the commission, I received a bill from the same law firm, almost to the amount of 1 million rand for the files.
When asked why David Mapakela, who'd assisted him, charged so much just to prepare legal files, Lebello told the commission that Mapakela had gone beyond his mandate and chose to build a case for him. Meanwhile, the very same advocate, Mapakela, whose invoice to SARS is under scrutiny, refused to give oral evidence at the commission on Monday. His legal representative says the affidavits he submitted will suffice.
On the basis of reasonableness, then he finds it not to be at this stage necessary for him to be held before the commission and to provide evidence in writing, which he has already provided in writing.
Judge Nugent also questioned Lebelo on how SARS had previously paid Mapakela 120,000 rand to read a book for now suspended Commissioner Tom Moyane. Moyane wanted to know if he could challenge what was written about him in the book.
Did you query that with the Commissioner and say, look, why are you instructing an attorney to read a book in order to find what it says about me, the Commissioner?
No.
Did you query that?
No, not.
The cost for reading the book, Judge, was approximately 120,000 before VAT.
Gartner will have to answer to the Commission on Tuesday. This is the consultancy firm that's at the forefront of changing the IT model. Heidi Jakos, Pretoria.
To Soshanguve now, where 2 police officers have been arrested in connection with the death of Tshwane University of Technology student Katlego Monareng. Monareng was shot dead in August during a protest over SRC elections at the institution's Soshanguve campus. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate arrested the constable and captain earlier today at the Soshanguve police station. Now, after Monareng's death, IPID seized the firearms of the officers who were at the scene. The police watchdog body says their investigation shows the police's version of events is untrue. Both the Soshanguve North and South campuses were shut for 6 weeks following Monareng's murder. Students say the news of the arrest comes as a huge relief. Still ahead on eNews, the Turkish government says the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was monstrously planned. Money News with Matteo as well.
The rand starting the week on a good note ahead of that budget speech on Wednesday, but the market on the low today.
Let's get your money update now with Matteo. Evening, Matteo. We're starting with platinum. Great news because there's a multi-billion-dollar contract, but not enough to stop retrenchments.
No, not at all. There's a Chinese consortium that's buying platinum group metals from Lonmin, which is a company has been under a lot of debt, of course, with the platinum prices on the market being quite low, and it's suffered quite a lot of losses. And in that happening, they've decided to let go of about 12,600 of their employees just to save their balance sheet. But today, getting a windfall of about $200 million, but still saying that with that said, and us getting all this money, we'd rather use this money to pay off the debt that we have of about $150 million and see off some of the credit lines that we have, but we're not going to be saving jobs. Of course, Sibanye-Stillwater, which is another producer of platinum, trying to buy Lonmin, and that's still at the competition tribunal. But with that deal happening, as a merger happens, normally jobs get lost first, and about 890 are expected to come off that merger happening between Sibanye-Stillwater and Lonmin as well. AMCU is saying they're trying to slow down that takeover and also make sure that not as many jobs are lost, but Solidarity is saying the takeover might actually be a good thing, but because that would mean that Stillwater takes over Lonmin and new management might bring a new job creation to the particular miner. But AMCU saying that it's going to be an all-out war for them to try and save those amount of jobs.
Difficult time for the industry and for the unions as well. Take us through the markets today.
Well, it was the miners that did drag the market down off those news that came out today. The oil share was flat today. Industrials also are down today by more than 1%. Financials also struggling today, flat on the day. Mining shares were worse off, with gold down more than 2% and platinum off 2% off the news that came through from Lonmin, while resources closing off that bloodbath. Commodity prices, gold now at $1,222 an ounce, and platinum was down as well, and that's been affecting those mining companies. And Brent crude at $79.65 a barrel. The rand seeming to be the only positive today at the back of a weaker dollar. It's at 14 Rand 32 against the greenback, at 16 Rand 43 against the euro, and also firming up at 18 Rand 58 against the pound today.
Thank you so much, Mutea. Let's take a look at international news now. The Turkish government says the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was a complicated murder that was monstrously planned. After denying any knowledge of his disappearance for the last 18 days, Saudi Arabia says he was killed in a fist fight during a rogue operation. But an advisor to the Turkish president says he wonders how the 60-year-old Khashoggi could have fought with 15 young expert fighters. forces. The Washington Post journalist was a critic of the Saudi government. Khashoggi disappeared on the 2nd of this month, shortly after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. And are we heading for another Cold War? Russia says it will be forced to develop new nuclear missiles. This in response to the United States' announcement that it plans to withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Now, President Donald Trump announced over the weekend that Washington plans to withdraw from the 1987 Arms Control Agreement. The Kremlin says the US will be making the world a more dangerous place if they start developing the missiles. And it says it will do the same to restore the balance of military power. Still ahead, we'll go to the Weather Center where Louis is standing by. Hi there, Louis. And then thousands of Mexicans warm up for the Day of the Dead. Let's get our weather news now with Louis in Cape Town. Good evening to you. What's in store this week?
Good evening, Sally. Well, there's quite a lot taking place at the moment over South Africa, and the culprits are the combination of a high-pressure system in the east that's pushing cooler air in towards the Highveld as well as along the eastern escarpment areas, keeping these areas quite cool for the meantime. But a low pressure towards the west is helping to draw that air toward it, and as that air moves off of the escarpment towards the coastline, it warms up, and it's classic bergwind conditions for the west coast as well as towards the southern coastline tomorrow. And at the same time, we could once again see a few thunder showers into parts of the Northern Cape, and this is where we're seeing the only precipitation of the day into the Northern Cape, Springbok and Uppington, a possibility of rain, and we are going to see windy weather for this province as well. The Western Cape experiencing some very high temperatures once again, even overnight, staying into the 20s for some parts of this province and then climbing into the mid to upper 30s for the afternoon. Temperatures rising across the Eastern Cape as well, especially for the afternoon hours. But take a look at some of those minimums to start the day off closer to the Drakensberg, so it will be a chilly morning. KwaZulu-Natal starts the day off cold but warming up quickly after sunrise. 27 for Pietermaritzburg, Ulundi as well as for Ladysmith. And on the Mpumalanga Highveld, some morning fog patches becoming partly cloudy and not too bad in the afternoon for this province. A fairly mild day expected for Limpopo, along with a bit of cloud cover over this area, but it does stay dry. And we'll also have partly cloudy skies across the northwest, with temperatures managing to climb into the mid-20s for the afternoon. Fairly similar for the Free State, but chilly at first for Bethlehem, with a 5-degree start to your morning. And finally into Gauteng, it's going to be a chilly start as well for this province. 7 degrees in Johannesburg and Vereeniging, but climbing into the mid-20s for the afternoon hours. Let's take a look ahead to Wednesday. It's going to be sunny and dry for just about all of South Africa. Temperatures rising across the northern parts, and more of the same on Thursday as it gets even hotter in the north. Johannesburg at 29 degrees, and it's going to be another very hot day in the west. Sally, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Louis. Looks like a hot week ahead. Finally, hundreds of Mexicans took to the streets of Mexico City this weekend for a pre-Day of the Dead parade. They donned costumes and painted their faces as the iconic Mexican skeleton figure known as La Catrina, or Elegant Skull. The Day of the Dead is a pre-Hispanic tradition in which families remember their dead and celebrate life. Mexicans set up offerings including photographs, food, candles, flowers, skulls made of sugar, skeletons of paper mache, and of course sweets. November the 2nd, All Souls Day, interweaves Spanish influences with ancestor worship in South America. To recap your top stories, Judge Mandela Makaula refuses to recuse himself. Now the defence plans to appeal. And of course we follow the money trail of the Jesus Dominion Church International to the United Kingdom. Former MEC Ngolisi Dukwana goes to court to get evidence he says will prove the ANC Secretary General pressured him to grant the Gupta favours. And Judge Nugent asks SARS Luther Labella how a lawyer got paid 120,000 rand plus VAT to read a book for Tom Moyani. That's your Monday news. Take care. Good night.